Easter eggs and Uber. Ready for this?
Wow. We're going to cook, baby. We're cooking. Let's go. I feel it. Why? Here's my question. We did this whole thing at the start of the show about like the map favored the Mayhem. So like the disc kind of gave me a little bit of hope. You know, I mean, maybe like sandbagging for the Mayhem. And then it's all about the Atlanta Rain. Matt, can we get a Mayhem prep from you? What do you think?
I think the Florida Mayhem can definitely win this series. I'm going to be honest with you. I checked the schedule. We got Vegas Valiant tomorrow. I was like, man, that is going to be a banger. And then I was like, wait, we got Atlanta, Florida as well. I actually think, Florida could actually end up taking this series, like one that goes the distance. We saw Atlanta fall last week to Jake's Outlaws. So we know it's possible. He didn't pred. That's true. I feel like Zoe, like Jake's relationship with the Outlaws, like is Zoe's relationship with the Reign. I feel like she's never picked against the Atlanta Reign either. But I definitely think this is winnable for Florida. I think they find themselves obviously in that 4-team kind of mix, right? I think with Boston, Atlanta, Houston, and themselves.
My personal prediction is Hawk is going to win a match in this series. I think it's something. I feel for the guy because I think it was against like the Defiant as well, right? Hawk often gets brought in for like your Circuit Royales and other maps that maybe require something not Winston. And,
so you're not going to predict the series. You're just predicting that Hawk is eventually going to play and win.
I think Atlanta will win. I think Atlanta will win. And I actually think that Atlanta can win a map in a rush mirror if they play it. That is like my kind of out there prediction. I reckon they've been cooking. They've been on the tools, as we say back home, Matt, as you would know.
Right. Yeah.
So
They've been with their VB long necks and the tools, right? They've been cooking it up.
I see. It's gonna be a long day on the tools for all of us here.
A few prawns on the Barbie.
Yeah, you got it right. Oh, I was corrected to do the wrong way. Johnny towered over this map set earlier in the day, pointing out that, of course, a number of these maps definitely lend themselves towards like a rush style. However, sub-level obviously is a good stage for Winston at times. We see a lot of teams go for that. Still plenty of Ramatra, brought onto this stage as well. We see Donghak here for the Atlanta Reign, so we have a decent idea of what they're going to be looking for. Florida get touted as this hyper-flexible team, right? Someone can kind of do anything, but Matt, there's going to be some points I feel where Florida are going to have to play dive and mirror Atlanta Reign, and if they don't win there, they don't win the series.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to. You feel like on some points, we'll see actually kind of like how Florida, attacks that type of dive, right? Like you see someone on the Winston now, we know he's great at that. Like how do we kind of see the DPS kind of fit into the mix? So Atlanta, I don't think it'll be very surprising what we see them come out on, as Florida does have some options here.
Okay, here come the Mayhem. Do you have a mirror on the Hanzo?
Yeah, I mean, what the Hanzo, Sonic kind of like, and pick out lit maybe a little bit, but really it's just trying to use the insta-kill potential on some of these squishies, right? It's just about hitting those like headshots close range, pretty much.
Stalker knows he's playing outside of Merit's line of sight. They're keeping someone at bay. Lip's been able to sneak in here, put pressure down on Rupal, who's going to bio-nade oneself. Lip whip shot away, but he really sticks around. He doesn't translocate nearly as early as you'd think. Someone eventually able to come out of that hidey hole though and find the kill on Fuel. It's a great opener here for Florida. And Merit does find that elusive pick.
Yes, I mean, Donghak takes a ton of damage there from Merit on the way in, and on the way out, it's someone putting down some damage and then able to finish him off. So Florida will actually get control of the point first here.
Interesting. I do hope we can continue to see like how this Hanzo plays into this dive mirror. Again, Atlanta can do a lot when they can play around that EMP, but at this rate, it's a little ways away. Lip only about halfway there. We see Donghak start the dive yet again. Checkmate looming with that pulse bomb in the back pocket. Okay, we see a counter dive there towards someone by Donghak. That bio-nade's going to make it hard for someone to stick around. Oh, couldn't get him back up. That hurts.
I think he was going to go with the nano, but he had obviously the effects of that anti-grenade, right? So wouldn't have gotten the healing benefits. Just waited a little bit. As soon as the effects fell off, that's going to be a nano now on to Checkmate as they really want to invest and hold on to the point.
Well, Rupal knew he was being shot at by Fielder, man. He just couldn't afford to look at him. He had to keep his eyes on Checkmate and at least part with that, nano boost before he went down. So he knew what he had to do there. Merrick going to get traded out. He's able to find Stalker with a apparently random headshot to the high ground now. Donghak to duel once more with someone. Torong has a rally. Someone needs to get inside that. Then an EMP on that low ground means the way is open for Lip to work. Torong out of the picture. Someone a little bit low. Hack briefly, but has a primal rage available. Lip will take this opportunity to build towards his next EMP.
Oh, and you're gonna have a Dragon Strike here come in from the spawn as both teams just kind of throwing everything at this. But I would feel like, what, Florida, dumping some of these ultimates in is gonna get an extra, 25%. It feels like the issue is Atlanta obviously flips a point, and now they have double support hold, so they should be able to hold this for at least another fight or two.
We understand now why we saw a Dragon Strike from spawn here. It's going to be Florida falling in line with the meta that's been dictated over the last couple of months. It'll be Merit switching over to the Sombra here. Lip will be ahead on this next EMP at this rate as well. Checkmate though looking to try and keep eyes on Stalker, but he has eyes elsewhere. He dives in with Donghak. And still someone able to deal with Lip. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, they use a nano on the Donghak, and then Lip and Stalker are there going in deep as well, but they end up losing Lip. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Florida.
I have no idea how that happened either way. To the high ground goes Donghak here as Checkmate takes up residence on the point itself. Pulse Bomb deployed, but will go awry. Here comes Gio stepping up with the rally. This could be a turn here for the Atlanta Rain. They still have point control, and they've got rid of Torong at the start of the fight. The hack came in on Checkmate, and there's nothing he could do. His attention was elsewhere. And so the Atlanta Rain win a second one in a row, and Lip will have that EMP for the next.
Yeah, I mean, it's the benefit of having those double support ults at the time, right? Chio is able to actually pop that rally on the point, keep everybody topped up as much as possible after they use the nano way earlier. So Florida comes back. You're going to be walking into this EMP. Maybe you can actually have RuPaul get the nano onto someone a little bit earlier. He can go in and cause some chaos.
You have to think it's going to be a defensive setup here for the Rain. Lip, though, wants to catch someone after he's dived in. Okay, just a hack here. So now they're going to pile it on top of you. Bubble is there, but they just circumvent it. There's the nano. Lip may be hoping to draw that out of RuPaul at the start of the fight. Atlanta have control, and that was really just used to keep someone alive, so the EMP comes in after the fact, and Donghak's going to be able to take someone out of the game. And now Florida not working with very much at all. Torong goes for the rally here, but it was really just to back away. Lip from the high ground could be a nuisance. Merit's EMP is here. Is someone in position to follow up? Donghak wasn't even hit by that one, but he just misses out on getting his primal up in time, so he'll fall. There's a real window and opportunity for Florida now to capitalize, and so they will.
Yeah, they should be able to take the point off the back of this, and they do. They do end up flipping. So Florida, you'll have the Primal Rage, you'll have Checkmate's Pulse Bomb. I think you're really looking at Checkmate to hit a big Pulse Bomb here, right? If he can connect with Chio or Fielder, right, early on in the fight, could be massive. Oh, they got Fielder weak.
He's in trouble. Yep, packed. Both plays. Checkmate. Okay. Turns around and says, I had something prepared just for this occasion, Chio. Both backliners down now to the Tracer here, and this is how Florida wins the round. Going to be Donghak with the Primal Rage, buying as much time as he can. He is hacked. He's going to be brought to bear. Just able to get back to the rest of his team, but no one's out of spawn to heal him up back. You're dead right. It's got to happen fast for Florida before these reinforcements come in. Donghak able to get back alive. Gio pops around here, and Fielder has it now. It might be time for the Atlanta Rain to swing things back in their favor. Florida couldn't quite finish the job. From the high ground here, it looks like the Mayhem are going to let Atlanta take control, but look at the health bars! Look at the players now falling! Someone couldn't get away, and RuPaul gets chased down, and golden opportunity goes begging for the Florida Mayhem. And now it's just the last vestiges of this team to try and keep the round going. It's not to be. Atlanta Star with a close win.
Yeah, you could start to see that happening, right? When obviously they get the kills on Chio and Fielder, those are massive. But Donghak does a nice job with his Primal Rage. I believe it was a Lip as well. They're able to kind of keep the point rolling because you had both support ults coming off a spawn. The Nano, which Donghak gets the benefits of, and he goes into the back line, able to pick up a kill or two. And then Chio ending up using the rally to just get them pretty healthy as they move on to the point. This is what you were mentioning, right? Playing this rush. We'll see how this rush now plays into the dive of the Rain.
Very likely we simply get different compositions here. As Donghak is not someone we know is being excited to pick up the Ramatra mantle. But here we go, coming out of the gates. Icebreaker time. I guess for Atlanta, this is a little bit tricky because there are a lot of chokes you got to filter your way through. I am curious to see how Donghak combines here with Lip and Stalker to get results. Pardon me, sub-level. Labs, rather. Get him right.
Well, man, I mean, they just... Lucio speed, get right in Chio's face and take him out instantly. He's like a little bit off to the side. They kind of make the assessment that he's alone. So they do a nice job of hunting him down. So at least early on, it looks like Florida going to be able to get control of the point, which this is kind of the same way the last round went. So, if Florida ends up losing this, they'll probably look back at this map and really feel like it was a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. Definitely a tough pill to swallow that previous round. Doghack, oh my goodness, took a lot of poke there. Trying to play out in the open, realized he really had to dive and eventually head back towards the rest of his team. Somehow Lip's able to fight RuPaul, though. That looks like essentially a solo kill. No one else involved. Now with the Baptiste out of the picture, it is go time for the Atlanta Reign.
Oh,
and all of a sudden, like dominoes, the Mayhem scatter.
Yeah, I mean, it is both supports gone right away there, as that is a hack from Lip that's going on to RuPaul, and he just burns him down after that. And then the combination of Lip and Stalker just take out Chorong, which no opportunity for the Florida Mayhem to really kind of play after that. So we'll see how they get value out of this Blizzard, right? So many characters with, the speed mobility on the side of the Atlanta Reign. Like, are you trying to speed boost and maybe go after Chio and Fielder here? Like, what's the angle with this Blizzard?
Maybe play aggressive defensively with the Blizzard rather. That looks like it's been the case. Doghack, no, he's not going anywhere. Hit with the Biter Grenade, though, defensively. He's getting punched by the looks of things, but it doesn't matter. RuPaul, again, the first to fall in this fight, and that Baptiste is a key vulnerability here for the Florida Mayhem, and it's getting exploited now. 2 fights in a row.
Yeah, and they try and use the Blizzard defensively, right? When Donghack gets the benefits of the nano and he jumps on in, they try and use that Blizzard to just like lock him in place and take him out. But it's a really nice biotic grenade there from Fielder. Gets an anti on a few members of the Florida Mayhem, and then also obviously keeps Donghack alive, really healthy through that Blizzard. So nice plays there by the Atlanta Reign. And look at this, I mean, Lip setting up for a big EMP.
Wrong spy checking here, but can't do that forever. Eventually needs to get involved. It might pull the plug here. Yep. Elects to get out of the fight. Atlanta, though, stay pretty safe here. Now Stalker, the next flank, going to take the exact same route. Well, way with Pulse Bomb there. Tough to hit Chorong on the move, though, in fairness. Here's that EMP. RuPaul explodes. Chorong at least is able to get the sound barrier out in time, but they still lose a player. Now going to try and make up the deficit with this annihilation. Chio dives headfirst into it. Geronimo, he says, and Lip just follows up. Finds those 2 kills, and Lip is having an absolute banger of a round. The Atlanta Reign string get another one together after a brief cap back by the Mayhem.
Yeah, I mean, they don't feel bad giving the point up the Atlanta Reign, right? They have the sound barrier rolling for the Florida Mayhem and the annihilation, but they've already killed RuPaul, so they know that once those effects wear off, this is going to be a fairly easy fight for them to win. So they just give the point up for a little bit, wait those ultimates out, and then come back in and steamroll the Florida Mayhem.
Stalker quickly making a target pivot there. Straight into Nemesis form very early, goes Summoner, and he is low. Stalker in the mix, but doesn't see the railgun coming. Travels at the speed of light, technically, so relatively notwithstanding. Tough to see it coming. Doghack able to trade at the very least, but that is going to be that for the Reign in this fight. Florida expend a couple of key ultimates here to make sure they get the dub.
Yeah, some nice shots there by Merritt towards the end. So they do end up investing a few ultimates, right, to be able to take the point back. But no, they're still in an interesting spot, I would say. If they get this sound barrier, I think there's a way they kind of win this next fight, because Atlanta's going to come in with a lot, right? You're going to come in with an EMP here, which is pretty much a fight win, right? Like, you see Lip in the overhead. He's probably just going to get like a hack on checkmate. Yep, and maybe just put some damage in. Yeah, that's going to be his EMP. So now that he's got that, they're going to set this up.
Last time, Lip used it simply to pile in on Donghack, or at least hack the Winston Force ultimates in that previous round and then go for it later on the back line. Lip revealing himself briefly here, needs to be very careful of that insta-kill potential. Stalker forces the immortality field for RuPaul, though, but I don't think Donghack's getting out of there. Atlanta, they're pulling straight away. They do not want to invest any further in this. They've got the sound barrier. Oh, now he comes in later. That's ridiculous. The timing, so hard to predict this. The Florida Mayhem kind of on the wrong foot here. They're pushing in the direction of the Reign. So you see where the idea comes from, but the execution, not there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Lip thought that they weren't going to be able to get back and get a good touch, because you end up losing Donghack, so you end up using that EMP. Maybe you can catch them off guard coming off the spawn, but yeah, that is a round win for the Florida Mayhem, and maybe something you'd like to have back if you're the Atlanta Reign. But thinking about it a little bit more, right? You're switching Donghack over to Doom to try and get back to the point. They're trying to push up, deny you from getting back to it, right? Maybe you can EMP them, get a big one, catch a player or two off guard as they're just running at you. That just does not work out in their favor.
There's a chance as well that Atlanta I guess they may have tracked the sound barrier or were trying to play around it, which is why they disengaged. But there might have been a call from Lip saying, hey, it's now or never. Pop the EMP, go on in after the sound barrier had expired. So the timing's reasonable, but there wasn't enough of a buffer. Now we're actually going to Icebreaker, and it will be the Ramatra for Donghak. It is Atlanta Reign now, opting in to the rush.
Well, who do you feel like has the advantage in this? In this type of head-to-head?
Oh, well, I mean, I did predict Atlanta would win a Rush Mirror, but with Hawk is what I thought. So I definitely favor the Mayhem here.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we've obviously seen Hawk play, you know, the Ramatra a good amount. It's not like Donghak can't play it, but, you know, we see Hawk come in play like Sigma play the Ramatra at times as Donghak gets a really low. Yeah, I mean, just a really nice off angle from Merit being able to put down so much damage.
Merit is a dangerous factor here. Can Lip match his impact? We've known him as a dynamic hit scan player.
I mean,
it's a tough ask, though.
Yes and no, but I also think that the angle that Merit has here is just so much better, right? Like the Atlanta Reign have to turn the corner around like a pillar and move their way to the point, where Merit can just kind of like use a little central pillar as like a, you know, anchor point, strafe around that. And it is just like free firing straight down. I mean, just a really nice sightline for him to play from.
So, and it will be a slow start for the Atlanta Reign, as they now have to adapt their composition to essentially what the map forces. Merit a problem in that last fight, and Atlanta have the same issue, right? Having to peer in from outside of this point, whereas Merit has his pick of the litter when it comes to sightlines. Checkmate also playing in a very flexible spot, ready for a defensive Blizzard. Shouldn't be required. Here it comes straight away, throwing in Ice Block instant there from Stalker, as he had thrown his own Blizzard as well. No one caught in that one. It's going to have to be an Immortality kill here from Fielder, and Lip's able to find Merit. So that head-to-head one out this time by Lip. He's able to play from a very safe spot. No sojourn here means the Atlanta Reign are happy to drag this on a little bit, as long as they manage to get a cap at the end.
Yeah, as it looks like, well, you're just going to have Checkmate here. Chorong's going to get on here, touch for just a brief second. So Atlanta does end up flipping off the back of that, and a lot invested from the Florida Mayhem, right? Sound barrier, Amp Matrix. So Atlanta Reign now has a, you know, they're set up in a pretty good spot, Mitch, to take the lead here, right? You have Annihilation, you're going to have Sound barrier to work with. You're going to have your Amp Matrix and your Overclock, right? I think if you're Florida, you're maybe relying on Merit building up this Overclock, which he gets now, using it and being able to take out a player or two.
An early pick would have been huge, right? But looks like Atlanta Reign trying to take the initiative. Yeah, Donghak just walks head first into that. Someone had his own Annihilation, of course, but Merit's been putting out a ton of damage over the course of this fight. Lip's going to win out, though, with the Overclock battle, and Atlanta may maintain control here. It's just the May of Checkmate, and it'll awaken to the Disruptor shot. That is a massive fight win here for the Atlanta Reign in approximately equal ult economy. The big difference maker will be Chorong's soon a sound barrier, but that is a huge win for the Reign.
I think Atlanta, I think for Donghak specifically, I think what he expected was he used the Annihilation and then thought that sound barrier was going to come, but it's maybe just like a second or two too late there from Chio as it comes right after you know, Donghak goes down. So they're pretty fortunate, right? You typically lose your tank right at the start. It does not end up being a good fight.
And Matrix here, this is going to force the Mayhem all the way back. Still, Stalker gets picked off, sorry? That's really awkward for Atlanta. They really had the setup there, and now the Reign move on in. Wall up half the team. Checkmate's going to be forcing some hot feet from the Atlanta Reign to get everyone in the fight. It's a terrible engagement for Atlanta.
Yeah, they do get a pretty nice lead, though, right? I know 20% and counting now is Florida. How do you play this? Do you want to play aggressive, right? Maybe play around this Blizzard. You have a huge advantage. You have to know that with Chorong's sound barrier, right? You can play a little bit more aggressive here. You don't have to kind of play on point.
Well, this map well and truly hangs in the balance now. Third round. It's about to be 80-80.
Yeah, look at how Florida's playing this. They're playing aggressive, right? They know they're wrapping. They want to go in with this Blizzard, I imagine. They don't want to, they don't want, you know, you have Blizzard sound barrier. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Ramatra trying to skip and jump out, and Donghak is not escaping. So Atlanta in the same position as they were on Labs, Matt. They have to put something together in the next 5%. They've lost Stalker. There's no way they're coming back from this one. We talked about it at the start of the show. This first map, Antarctic Peninsula, lends itself ultimately to the Rush Mirror, and that's where the Mayhem have them pipped. It'll be Florida starting off with a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and they looked great. And even in the point that they lost, right, where they were playing the dive, it wasn't exactly terrible, right? It's just really nice, stall there from the Atlanta Reign. Dunghack and Lip kind of juggling the point until their supports come back with ultimates. Because if they're able to take out like Donghack, that type of situation, right, and Lip has to stand on the point through the entire time, like they probably win that round, right? So I think Atlanta should be pretty scared because Florida's proven, right? They can play the rush maps and obviously play it at a high level, but their dive also looks pretty good.
No doubt about it. Atlanta, we thought they might get away with it, right? Playing dive into the rush composition, and it may well have. A couple of things just went wrong. Merit a real problem here. This is how they turn things around. I mean, let's not forget just the impact of this Sojourn play, so much so that Lip sort of switched into it in the last round and added this extra element of volatility to the way that these team fights went out. But it got awkward at the end of that round. Donghack switching to Doomfist awkwardly, and then here the Florida Mayhem. These early picks were huge when they had Blizzard Sound Barrier that went aggressive into that enclosed space, and this is where it was all over.
Yeah, what I liked here, specifically at the end from the Florida Mayhem, is they didn't feel the need to like kind of use that sound barrier straight away and like push on through, right? They were pretty patient after getting that first kill.
Right, Eichenwalder up next here in this first of 3 series. The Florida Mayhem start with a win, but the Atlanta Reign always good for a comeback. Keep an eye out for them in map 2. as we drew it up at the start of the day, Antarctic Peninsula forcing these Ramatra-based compositions favoured the Florida Mayhem. A very close first map, though, and we know what the Atlanta Rain are capable of, so it's got to feel incredibly good to start the series with a win if you're a Mayhem player or fan.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, Atlanta comes off of, a tough loss, right? Obviously, probably still kind of thinking about it at times, and then you come in and you take map number 1, right? Although very close, still getting that first map. It maybe starts to seep some doubt into the minds of the Atlanta Rain players. I got to say as well, Mitch, just selfishly, I'm quite happy we don't have to watch Antarctic Peninsula, because all that snow and that ice, oh man, and how hot it is, I was struggling.
Jealous, bro?
I'm jealous, yeah.
You're missing winter time over there? It's been fun.
Oh, man.
In Southern California, I must say. It's been vibing.
It's like 3 million degrees out.
Miss me that East Coast vibes. That's all I'm saying. Well, we're off to Germany, figuratively speaking, anyway. Somewhere north of Stuttgart, if I'm not mistaken. It's Eichenwalde for the second map. And again, we've seen Stalker on many occasions try and show us what he's capable of when it comes to that echo. Checkmate also has a pretty nasty echo, but Florida are... they're living the London Spitfire dream right now.
Channeling Hottie's energy. They're like, you know what? If Hottie can do it, we can try and do it.
I was going to say, yeah. No
Maybe we
guarantee.
can't do it, but we're going to try to do it, though.
Okay, so we have definitely seen someone show us Ryan. We've seen it at times on like Lijiang Tower. The guy is cracked, we know it. So, no concerns about the ability of any of these people to fulfill requirements of this team composition. Lip's going to get some interesting information if he goes up there. He opts not to, though. It'd be Hanzo for Lip. Okay, Hanzo Echo here with a Mercy Pocket for the latter.
I mean, I think this should be pretty decent against this, like, Reinhardt comp, right? Like, being able to just kind of, like, burn the shield, put lots of pressure. The Hanzo can obviously outrange the Cassidy in that type of battle. It looks like Atlanta maybe making some changes, so let's see. So, Genji Sombra. All right, so they want to get pretty aggressive. I imagine the target here is, like, RuPaul and Merit.
Dive Merit. Just dive Merit. But no, Cassidy feels pretty limited at times when he is dove on by more than one person. Okay, great little charge there. Look at
Donghack.
Yeah. Power steering from someone drives Donghack into the belly of the beast, surrounded by hungry foes. He's able to get away, though, at the very least. Topped up. Taking a bunch of damage from Merit, though, but throws the bubble down a little bit late. And the field is gone. Chorong's able to pick him out of the mix. Well, some things you just can't account for. Sometimes Chorong just gets in and finds his key picks. Can't ask for more than that.
And I think if you're Florida, right, what you want to do here is basically just play extremely clumped up in this group, right? The way that Atlanta's going to start picking you apart, right, is if Merit's off on an island a little bit, or, maybe it's like RuPaul or somebody like that, right? And you can actually just jump right on top of them. Playing all together in a little bit of a death ball makes it very difficult.
Lip going straight for it. Nothing subtle about that one. EMP then dives. Stalker's there. Merit is the first to be dispatched, and someone struggles to cling on here. The hack after the fact manually there by Lip, making things pretty hard, and now RuPaul is done. So Atlanta figured out pretty quickly. Just hit Q, dive.
I mean, there is not much that you can do to counter that, right? I know EMP comes in, connects with everybody. You lose a player, the immortality field goes down. You have RuPaul trying to heal everybody back up. It almost doesn't matter at that point, right? Stalker is able to start getting those dash resets, make big plays, where now you have Nanoblade in the mix. So, a huge ultimate combo here for the Atlanta Rain. But look at this. I mean, we have Florida. They just speed boost down from the high ground, and they just deal with Donghack.
They use the blade? Don't know about this one. Yeah, sound barrier there from Chorong just in case. Florida now can set up and start to be a real nuisance here, and I feel like with this composition, you just sit in this choke, you are very, very hard to shift.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like maybe Merit's going to, like, back up to the high ground, but really, yeah, you play that choke. Like, how do you get that? How do you dislodge that Reinhardt from that choke, right? It's going to be pretty difficult to do.
By all accounts, all of our experts and pundits thought that we'd actually be more solidified in, like, the Tracer Sombra meta this stage, I'll call it. That hasn't been the case at all. My goodness, teams getting creative with it. Plenty of cooking going on here. Mera with the special spice. It's Donghack down first, and the rest of the Rain are going to have to run for the hills.
Yeah, it was a nice shatter there from someone, and then obviously the Matrix goes down and Marriott's able to do big damage shooting through it and take out Donghack. But Lip in the meantime doing what he does, farming up that EMP. You really have nothing to deal with it too. You imagine, I mean, this is quite aggressive.
I'm sorry. This is so silly. Jorong again finds Fielder. Unreal.
Where's Gio going?
I mean, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Jorong finds his second kill, so gets involved there with Donghack. I'm not sure how these early Ana picks are being manufactured here, but it is making it extremely hard for Donghack to survive without Fielder alive.
Yeah, what was the London Spitfire, that little plane they had, right? It was the Florida Mayhem wanted to join them on the, I think it was the Glad plane, right?
Yeah,
they're in the Reinhardt.
Glad plane and sad plane. That's right. Throwback, my goodness. All right, someone will hold the line here. Lip getting aggressive. Merit found two. I mean, that's able to force the translocate.
You're extremely happy with that if you're Florida, right? Typically, an EMP is a fight win for the others. Oh, and I don't think Stalker actually got hit with the benefits of the sound barrier either. So, I mean, this goes about as well as it could go for Florida.
That mag grenade, I'm sorry, that mag grenade did a U-turn.
Well, it's a mag grenade. Obviously, it's supposed to stick. What do you want it to do?
I mean, I don't know. I thought it was like more of like a, you know, just a normal magnet and not an electromagnet, like they're really strong ones. I guess it could have an inbuilt power source. Either way.
So Atlanta bounces back in the end, right? But I will say it was pretty costly for them to do so, right? You're going to have a nano blade here towards the end, but you're going to have sound barrier to counter that if you're the Mayhem, and then potentially Blizzard is up. Look at this. This is a nice primal rage opportunity potentially.
To the high ground now. Okay, sound barrier from Florida, so they're definitely feeling the pressure here. Donghack is trying to okay,
still rolling.
All good, all good. He's trying to disperse his Mayhem squad, but they actually were able to group back up here. So you've got a lot more work to do. Donghack going overhead here. Air Matrix in play. Here's Stalker. Okay, taken down straight away by someone. Got to find the one kill, but a trade with that blade is not remotely enough.
You know, I mean, a really nice Air Matrix there from RuPaul, right? They kind of rotate all the way around and use it from that opposite side of the bridge. And that allows them to take out Stalker, where, yeah, I was a little bit worried. You know, you get that nano blade coming on through and you do not have sound barrier. Even with sound barrier, sometimes it is a pretty difficult situation to be in. Where now Florida puts themselves in a spot, Mitch, with Merrick going over to the Sombra here to potentially hold them before taking that second checkpoint.
Do you think this is necessary to switch Sombra now from the Cassidy?
Yeah, I actually kind of like this because you have like what 1-2 fights left, right? A hack on a Donghack or a hack onto somebody else puts it away, and then I also think towards that later part of the map, having that EMP would be huge.
Someone, he knows. Oh, he was gonna shout at that 100 billion%. They just forgot about a bloody cut. Hello, Florida, please pick up the phone. It's me. I only want the best for you guys. I swear. Okay. Again, they were not a composition. They are not a composition.
Though. Big shot. Here we go.
Yeah, really? Okay. Okay. Doesn't really do it for me, I'll be honest with you. May wall here, Donghack. May fall, but I tell you what, the Atlanta angle what they came for. 90 seconds, 2 checkpoints to work with.
And it's just brutal because they don't even need to invest anything to get it, right? I mean, you now have like an EMP for Lip that you would have loved to have them like forced to use here to get it over the line, right? You'd be at the same time, but they'd be moving into the castle without this big ultimate, but they get it for free, which is just pretty terrible.
Yeah, it really takes a written invitation to get Lip to translocate out. It seems he sticks around a long time. And Matrix here,
nice
mortality field. Yep, later EMP as well for Merit. Nicely done.
Yeah, I mean, the
second mouse gets the G's.
It's a split second there from RuPaul, right, to be able to get that out, and he just gets it out at the perfect time, right as the EMP is about to hit, so keeps everybody alive there.
45 seconds. That's it. Sound barrier though. Nano for Donghack, presumably, maybe a nano blade even. My goodness, this is critical massive ultimates in this next fight. Yep, nano blade. Here comes Stalker. Instantly, Chorong, no chance to part with that sound barrier at all. But the Blizzard catches Stalker. Someone able to find a kill there. 1-for-1 now. Donghack still holding on to this primal rage. Wall thrown up. Creates a screen for the Florida Mayhem to head upstairs, but there's no way RuPaul's getting away from this, right? No, you are dead as. You are dead aft, my guy. Over the edge he goes. Again, another trade though. Build it down, Matt.
Yeah, sound barrier for both teams here is it looked like Florida thought for a little bit that they actually could have ended up fighting that. And the reason the sound barrier doesn't come out earlier, when Stalker goes in with that blade, it's a perfectly timed hack there from Lip onto Chorong that prevents him from even getting that sound barrier off.
Yeah, that's huge.
RuPaul's got an amp.
Otherwise,
it's a really nice spot to use it too.
Stalker's low. He's forced back just purely by Merit hacking the Genji, forced it back. Shadow's pretty good, finds two, and Stalker can't get to the cart. The Atlanta Reign look to try and finish the job elsewhere, but they step away. We're going to just gloss over that one real quickly and focus on the next round.
Yeah, a little shenanigans with the payload there potentially, but I think, look, the first one, Florida obviously got stuck in a really bad spot, couldn't make it. Back to the point, that one, it's a shatter that comes through from someone, kind of pushes everybody back, out away. So nice job there from Florida as they give themselves a clear way to win this map.
Absolutely. All that time they managed to buy, especially through that second phase of the map with that quasi-spawn camp early, committing sound barrier and diving in with this Reinhardt composition. This comp has legs, literally, figuratively. It really worked out. No longer just the London Spitfire trying to make this work. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, right? This aggression blade here. Okay, Fielder just got his head blown off there, and then there was a sound barrier by Chorong to blunt Stalker's Dragon Blade.
Yeah, I mean, and also an Immortality Field in the mix there from RuPaul to keep everybody topped up. Do you think they can run this on offense, though? Like, do you think that Atlanta, with the benefits of Florida having to kind of like run into them, so to speak, and kind of like move around the map, position players like Fielder, at high ground opportunities, like to, make this different?
You can play this for sure. I do wonder about Merit being on the Tracer and maybe not Sombra here. Perhaps he thinks it's easy to get through the choke without sort of being detected here. Okay, we're switching. Wholesale, we're switching.
Yeah, so they'll actually, so you're going to have an Echo here for Checkmate, which we've seen Checkmate play Echo. Very good Echo player, so we'll see how they kind of deal with this, right? If they can kind of push them back and then get better use, and that's a nice way to do so with Donghak getting hit with a bio.
Yeah, so simple, isn't it? And yet, effective. The Atlanta Reign completely pull their forces out of the choke. Now playing on the point, which is where Checkmate would love for them to be. Donghak getting pressured, maybe not as many of those try-shots hitting as Checkmate otherwise would have liked. Oh my goodness, the crackback is quick. He's able to take flight quickly though. Focusing beam, put the fear of God in Donghak.
They got
get away.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing comes down to getting rid of Donghak earlier, it feels like, but Checkmate answers back with two, Merit with another.
Two players left for the Atlanta Reign. It's Lip and Stalker trying to hold on here. Merit very low and couldn't quite get himself a health pack, so this will be a hold for Atlanta. Florida hope to filter in as quickly as possible, surely.
Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, Florida doesn't look like you're going to have an opportunity to get back here faster. I mean, maybe, look how far Fielder is. So I wonder if they kind of realize this. Maybe force Lip to end up using this EMP, yeah.
It makes perfect sense, right? Buys so much time, and I mean, Fielder now is well and truly back in the fight here. You'll also get a great result from it. You do get 2 kills and a stagger potential. Great decision there from Lip to just pop the EMP there.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few fight wins here for the Atlanta Reign. They're going to have a nano boost here to use, probably on a Donghak next. It's Florida Mayhem, with such a good defense, right? Being able to prevent them from kind of finishing the map. Got to get this first point rather quickly, right? It feels like another fight or two goes the opposite way. You're in real trouble of even if you get that first point. So now losing Checkmate, I mean that's terrible, right?
Yeah, Florida just need to get their ducks in a row. We see the weaknesses of Echo against the Summer Tracer setup now, Matt, right? It can be really hard to find value.
Well, typically, right, Sombra is good against the Echo, right? Being able to get the Echo out of the sky, but like Tracer's always historically been really strong against Echo.
Yeah. All right, rally here for Chorong. Big stickies and a Bionator Donghak, but no one seems to be following him, so he instead goes the aggressor. The sleep dart was good, but he's woken up. He's separated from the rest of his team, and those okay, very close there for Checkmate. Thought might dupe the Winston, perhaps the Ana is the option. He's going to hold on to that for the time being, though. If they can take that into the next phase, it will be huge. Rally is in effect for Chio here, but they've lost both Fielder and Chio. This fight is essentially done.
Yeah, and that's the EMP from Lip there used as well at the end, right? So you get some of these big ultimates out. I imagine if you're Checkmate, do you play this Echo going into the second phase? It's typically pretty hard, right? Because you're trying to fly up to the high ground that they're probably sitting on, right? So you're just putting yourself right in the line of fire. So maybe use the ultimate, then swap. But Now it's going to be the Florida Mayhem trying to take control of the high ground here, trying to take control of Cast.
You can take this high ground for sure. I think you probably want to follow someone. Someone, heads up there, throws a bubble down. Oh my goodness, RuPaul puts Fielder on notice. The second he peeks over the edge of the battlement there, he takes a hit from the enemy Ana. Yeah, this like donk hack position is pretty annoying, but when you have Echo, you just dive it, right? You just go straight for the Winston. Force him away from it. You don't have to use any big cooldowns either. Look close to the gap. See, you follow up someone. That's what Checkmate's doing here. Merit. Okay, pulse over the edge. Like an old-fashioned latrine. This time no one there to catch it on their head parts. Checkmate has the dupe, but again, kind of awkward to get that nice little duped unanade when you're on the low ground. And they get absolutely flattened.
I mean, it didn't seem like there was a great opportunity, in terms of like who you would hack. I also wonder, are you stuck on this? Because typically, right, we've seen Merit play that Sombra and he's on the Tracer, right? So you figured you'd have to like swap both. So it looks like they may actually be, yeah, I mean, well, it looks like they may actually just be committed to it at this point, right?
But, man, you lost your window. The lip not having EMP window. The one that a lot of teams seek to exploit when they can. That's shut. Not a thing now. Now you're going to face in front of it. Great timing from donk hack here. It was I guess a nano onto Chorong here. RuPaul, though, not able to benefit from the rally as much as he needed to, though. And yeah, Chorong, very impressive raid boss here.
They are making good payload progress, though, right? Like, Atlanta, I feel like, has given up, like, they could have played really close. They've given up a decent chunk, because that's going to be Fielder taking out Chorong inside that close room.
Oh, you need to be really careful with Cheeto here. He is hit with the nano and also has a rally available, so this might be harder than someone realizes to find kills here. Sees the rally, and he slept. Would love to get out of here if he can, but I don't think he's going to be given the option. He's hit with the bionic grenade, stunned up there, probably by the rally bash, and he is a dog's dinner.
Dude, Chio and Fielder are insane. Like,
yep.
They are able to just keep each other up through so much there. And at the start, right, it's the nano onto Chio, but like Chio doesn't even pop the rally, right? He knows that Primal is eventually coming, and there's some other abilities that they can throw in there, right? And then saves onto that for the final moments where those two are able to keep each other up. The Fielder just kind of picks RuPaul off at range. That's a wild one, but being able to keep each other alive, through all of the damage and ultimates kind of coming their way. I mean, that is, it's why Atlanta has such a large advantage in some of these. Obviously, donk hack, Stalker, and Lip are tremendous at their role, but the supports being able to keep each other alive, it's unlike many other teams.
Yeah, you can get away with so
a lot
much if you're donk hack and Lip and Stalker because of what Fielder and Chio can do. Just business, they say. But
you don't have to come back and like peel for them, right? They'll just they'll live for 15, 20, 30 seconds. They'll just keep going.
The Dallas Fuel, right? That's kind of one of the big things that we credited them for, especially keep Fearless alive in some of these fights and harming as well. Either way, Florida running out of time. It's 18 seconds left in the round. It's going to be a dupe of Tracer for Checkmate. Pulse Bomb is on the cards. Just throw it out. Get rid of it. There we go. That is deployed here. Looks like Fielder, though, just very difficult to kill in general. It's traded. Chorong fell just prior.
Look at that. I mean, they had to put like half of their team up there. I mean, you have like...
They are not on the same level in the dive comp. They just are not. Not even close on Eichenwald. That was absolutely brutal stuff. After what we saw on Antarctica Peninsula, you hope for something a little bit closer, but Atlanta, man, they are something else. You asked this question.
Yeah.
You asked this question, right? Are they going to be stuck on this Echo? Are they going to stick to this Echo, right? And a part of the map that it doesn't feel as good. And you saw Checkmate, like, duping an Ana and then being on the low ground and then trying to buy it from there and just getting shot. I feel like that might have hurt them a bit, right? Maybe just go to Summer Tracer and try to make it happen?
Yeah, I would say the jury is still out in terms of the dive comp. I would actually say just the biggest issue was being stuck on that Echo for that whole, like, second phase, right? You were getting, like, almost... no value out of it, right? Like, even with the duplicate, right? If you had an EMP there, it's a completely different story, right? In terms of impact in the fight.
I enjoyed this variation, though, from the Florida Mayhem. Not just because I like the Spitfire style, but someone very assertive, very aggressive tank, and being the only Reinhardt here really got to set the pace in many cases. This little whip around wasn't even boosted, of course, by that Matrix. And that shuts Stalker's blade down here. The Lip EMPs, though, man, this one here, when they were short-handed, great way to retake tempo when they were down a player.
Yeah, I mean, you just see the benefits of having the Sombra, like, and now, obviously, how Sombra works, right, where the hack kind of, like, amps her damage and whatnot, like, just a sick damage dealer, as well as all the other kind of utility you get from the hack. I mean, look at this, right? You have someone there, you have Checkmate there, they just can't pick up any of these kills against the supports. Like, you have the hack and EMP there, some of these abilities don't end up going off. It's a big difference.
Well, suffice to say, this match is delivering on expectations. These two teams trade maps heading into Dorado. Another potential dive map, another potential Atlanta Rain battleground. So stick around, everybody. Let's see if the Mayhem are able to make some adjustments to get themselves back in this game and in the lead, perhaps. Well, Eichenwalde is comfortably an Atlanta Rain affair. It is pretty much the bread and butter from this team, the Winston-based dive composition, although they run into a little bit of difficulty against the Mayhem playing this Reinhardt composition on defense. Eventually they break through, and it's the offense for the Mayhem, Matt, that looks a little questionable at times.
Yeah, I think like we talked about, just kind of maybe the echo there. You probably go back and, you know, look at that. Obviously, it works on that first point. Maybe going to second point, you would have liked to make some changes. But it'll be Dorado, the next map up in the set. So this is one you fully expect to see a lot of that Winston, right? You know, a lot of high ground potential here. It's not one you can really kind of force that Reinhardt.
Something tells me that the Florida Mayhem just don't prefer to play Sombra when they can avoid it. We've seen it over the last couple of maps. And I think demonstrated in quite a stark manner. Normally that's Merit's job, and Merit is a great Sombra player, but this team tends to veer away from just locking into the Sombra Tracer strat. I think Chio is the one that said that most other strats tend to just fall down eventually to the Winston Tracer Sombra dive.
I mean, Sombra just provides just so much. It's you kind of feel like you have to run it at times. But maybe that's not the case, because the Florida Mayhem, they'll come out on defense with a Widow Echo set up here.
Okay, I'll bite. This is entertaining, for sure. Merit on the Widow is a fun prospect indeed. Atlanta, though, probably going to just look to dive. I mean, how good do you think Widow is against the Sombra Tracer? Out of curiosity.
You just put together a really... fairly stationary target, right? Who has just one way to get out. You don't have like some like pocket or anything like that, right? It could be pretty difficult. We'll see how Atlanta attacks this.
Ooh, lips on the Tracer.
Yeah, they're going to play something maybe a little bit different too. Yeah, you're going to have Echo.
Okay. So Echo continuing to rise in popularity. Ooh, Stalker. Now knows what he's up against. The Widow in play for Merit now. This guy be hitting heads, I am not going to lie to you. Tucked into this corner here, which means you're fully committed if you get dived. It's hard to get out of here, even with the grapple.
Ooh.
That's not good. That is very bad. Losing someone so early, yikes.
Well, if Merit actually just puts in a few good shots, right? It's not even, maybe getting the headshot pickoffs, right? Just a few good shots, consistent damage. That allows Checkmate and someone to finish these players off, right? Obviously, Winston can kind of chase after them, but Checkmate, obviously, with the focusing beam can do significant damage.
Someone was fighting out of Merit's line of sight, around that corner. Donghack serves himself up here.
That's what you got to do, though, here in Florida. Like, there have been times where you've had opportunities where Donghack has just gone in and been extremely low, and he's been able to get out with his life, where...
no reason that should be allowed to happen.
Exactly. Like, that's kind of like, the Houston Outlaws did a great job of doing that, but then also at the same time kind of punishing the back line. But if Donghack is going to, jump in and go a little bit too far and give you those opportunities, you can't let them go away.
Donghack knows he can't stand in the choke and just, like, trade Tesla cannon damage. Merit is just going to, cause him to have no HP very quickly. You get a dive Merit. He gets out of there. Okay, grapple in Lip's direction. Lip maybe not expecting to deal with the Brig at the same time, though. So Donghack upstairs, only for a time, though. Gets slammed instantly. Fielder's able to find Checkmate, though. So Echo's out of the picture now. Stalker can focus on diving other targets instead of winning this aerial duel. Has a duplicate available. Okay, I've seen everything.
A nano on someone here, and then he's going to have Primal. You might be able to keep this going.
Stalker might want to actually look towards the spawn here if he's going to dupe this Widow. Maybe catch some people coming off respawn. With Rupal dead, though, he might not need to. Probably wanted to be out of dupe form there.
Yeah, you're going to win this fight in Florida.
Oh, my goodness. Someone bought so much time there. Still doing it, by the way.
I mean, just tremendous there. Someone just, holds on to the Primal for the final moments, being able to get it off there. But the Nano from RuPaul in the final moments, able to keep him alive there on the point. It was almost kind of bad, right? When someone's actually in the Nano he gets the benefits of the Nano and then also has Primal. Stalker is actually duplicating the Widowmaker, so he doesn't have a focusing beam and like significant damage to finish off the
he doesn't want to be in
Duke. Yeah, he doesn't want to be in. He doesn't want to be Widow anymore. He'd much rather be the Echo in that situation. Just kind of unfortunate.
I think it was his only option to duplicate, right?
Yeah.
But a terrible choice, really, in that context. Anyway, okay, here comes Primal. Donghack's rendition of the Iron Shoulder comes in Merit's direction. He is staying scarce of the situation and eventually is going to get brought down. Chorong, though, in the meantime, picks up Fielder. So it's Chio's rally. That's all the Atlanta Rain have to rely on. And that's not enough against Echo's extremely high damage in close quarters. And Florida are making this happen.
Yeah, for a second there, it was Lip on the payload getting it moving for a second. I was like, hey, everybody, let's turn. Objective's there. It's that way. But man, this has been a tremendous hold here from the Florida Mayhem. And just being able to get a hold here would be massive. It also would be a little bit of a feels bet because I actually think they had an opportunity to win Eichenwald. No, that just kind of maybe that strategy. The second point wasn't great.
17 seconds left for the Atlanta Rain to make something happen here. Getting rid of Mero. I mean, we've seen this for a long, long time. This is not new. This Widow set up here on Dorado. Just been fell out of vogue for a time. But the Atlanta Reign still have to figure out this problem.
I mean, Donghak can't just keep eating these headshots on the way in, right? As gonna have to give him the nano as Fielder gets really low here as well.
Checkmate getting a little bit of value out of the duplicate there. Stalker knocks him out. Someone able to find Fielder here. This is looking dire for the Atlanta Reign. Checkmate gets rid of Donghak and Stalker. It's forced to dupe the Winston to try and deal with Merit. No dice. Merit able to get away. What great protection for this Widowmaker, and Merit so effective even when on the move 99% of the time. Stunning stuff for the Florida Mayhem here.
I mean, it's not even like Merit just popping off, right? And just getting tons of kills in the Widowmaker. It's just being out there at a distance, like kind of doing what we saw him do to Donghak, like just a consistent, you know, damage at range. And you have to address him in some capacity, right? So it takes some of the focus off of, you know, being able to dive the supports going on in. It forces you to kind of just chase around Merit. And that allows, you know, someone and Checkmate to go into the backline, make big plays. Also, it allows Chorong and RuPaul to stay alive.
Basically, Donghak constantly having to like lumber across this extremely long sight line.
I mean, how many times do we see him
dive?
Yeah, he'd jump around the corner, get headshot, then have to go wait, jump around the corner, get headshot, go, and then eventually he's like, well, screw it, I just have to go, right? And so you get double dinged, you have to just like end up getting hit with a nano straight away.
And Donghak's the kind of player to take those risks as it is. What is this? We don't need like insta kills, right? This is, well, okay, maybe we got some. Cheeky. I mean, he killed the entire backline, so, I mean, yeah, he had some serious output. But his biggest impact was, like you said, like fully charged, body shotting, headshotting Donghak as he's like standing in the choke. That's the round winner.
I mean, look, and then Donghak takes significant damage, right? What does he do? He, you know, if he goes to the high ground or tries to dive to the high ground, he turns his back to basically everybody else. You go to the supports, it's going to be difficult, right? Just trying to take the supports that we already have 50% HP is going to get a TP up to the high ground here. Merit's not going to take it. Just trying to like shoot some of these players that are diving on in.
Florida like
look at this translocator. They got. It doesn't look like they're going to be take advantage of it though.
They're so compact, right? With this setup, they're playing Diva now, right? So much slower. Dare them to dive, Merit, basically. So this makes the defensive dive. Oh, you're kidding me, Keo! Of all people as well, one of the most diligent players just doesn't happen to have his shield up there. Oh my goodness, that's filth.
And I love how Merit just casually does it. You know? A 6-shot, no different reaction, just fully expects to hit these. Ooh. He sees Lip going into stealth there, almost able to take him out.
This is what a good Widow does. You are stuck inside that building, and then Checkmate comes in and punishes you for being stuck inside the building. It will be over, 100%. Look at this. Focusing in, could have got Donghak, but Checkmate didn't have it off cooldown. But he'll keep him at bay for now. So Nano Winston, how do you respond to this? Immortality field thrown down. Donghak needs to spend a couple valuable seconds getting rid of that. And then we're peeling for our backline, or rather trying to chase Checkmate down. He's going to be healed up as soon as he gets back out the window. And the cart. The CART. The C-A-R-T, cart. The cart is
look at Stalker like can't even really get up on the high ground here to make a play, right? As you know, it's just a firing range here for Merit.
All right, Duke on the Sombra, because why not? Oh, really? Self-destruct on the cart?
Oh, he had Donghak. He couldn't really get away.
Yeah, no chance. He couldn't dive away at all. This is chalked. My goodness, the Florida Mayhem put themselves in the lead. Someone throws that headset down. Now they're starting to feel it. Now they're starting to heat up in this kitchen, Matthew, and it looks like the Atlanta Reign are failing the taste test.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the Florida Mayhem could come in here today and win this series. I think with everything we've seen thus far, definitely possible. I think you look even at Eichenwald, right? And that is one that was definitely winnable. So I think maybe some of the, I wouldn't even call them struggles with the Atlanta Reign, right? I think it's just, you know, teams have been able to get better throughout the year and to really kind of adjust to different styles of play. This definitely was a great map here for the Florida Mayhem.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and especially when there's a target on the back of it as well. And Florida are trying some new things, right? The Widowmaker on both sides, attacking defense, attacking Diva. Similar to what we see from some teams on Rialto, for example, right? That sort of slower style with hit scan setup. Barrett has layers upon layers of defensive architecture to make sure he can't be dived. Colosseum, a very different story, very different map, and as the gentleman pointed out at the start of the show, one of the best, I guess, against a Winston comp, or if you don't want to play a dive-based setup. This stage is set for the Florida Mayhem here. They've got a buffer as well. They can take it to Lijiang and play Rush to stick around. The Florida Mayhem are looking scary. The Atlanta Reign are awaiting their fate in this map 4. Dorado was quite the affair for the Florida Mayhem here as they have a Widowmaker player for the entirety of the map. We said they don't like to play Sombra. They really showed us just how little they wanted to go to that pick. The merit on this Widow, pretty impactful, I think it's safe to say. 4 final blows there. We saw 2 of them as we went to the break on both backliners at one point there. High impact individual in this role.
Like we talked about, it wasn't really about the final blows. It's about kind of the just big chunks of damage he's putting down on players as they're trying to move through the choke, right? It's been historically a pretty good Widowmaker map. And then also the deaths, right? Only 2 deaths. I mean, that is really impressive.
Yeah, very hard to chase down. We saw multiple players beeline for Mera when they had the opportunity to do so. The issue for Atlanta is that they had to cross a fairly wide expanse before they could even begin to do that. And that's where the rest of the Florida Mayhem comes in. Someone holds the choke, and as soon as Doghead tries to sort of bypass him to look for the Widow, he dies himself. Goes in with checkmate. They make it happen. Turong Rupal, again, just impossible to kill and doing a lot to keep Mera in the fight. It seemed like a very difficult problem for the Atlanta Reign to deconstruct with the amount of time they had to work with. So,
now, if you're Florida, hey, you gotta get. If you're Florida, bro, get back in these seats. You got them on the ropes. Why are you letting them take some time? There you go. Everybody's back.
But for better or for worse, every map we've seen something a little bit different from Florida. Maybe more standardized play on Antarctic Peninsula. But we saw this random Ryan Cassidy setup on Iconvolta. It definitely took Atlanta by surprise. They did figure it out though. So that's part of this question. Can Atlanta Reign adapt to what the Mayhem are doing? Mayhem are touted as a hyper-flexible team. They're showing that here in this series with a veritable array of different strategies. Atlanta have to figure them out quick.
Yeah, I mean, and they give themselves 2 really good chances, right? You know, with Colosseo coming up and then potentially a Game 5 with Lijiang Tower. So 2 pretty good map options here for the Florida Mayhem, try and seal the deal, right? 3-1 would be pretty impressive, right? I know being able to kind of get a big 3-1 victory, over Atlanta, give Atlanta another loss, right? You start to see maybe a path where even somebody could like overtake Atlanta, right?
That aside, if we go on to Lijiang Tower and there's any chance the control center comes up in the map pool, then you have to feel pretty good about the Mayhem. Those control maps, though, like we saw in Antarctic Peninsula, very, very close. So it really puts the series in the balance. For me, as an enthusiast, map 5 would be the best option here, give us the most exciting game, but Atlanta have to get through Colosseo first.
I mean, get this, Mitch, right? In terms of the standings, right? Atlanta sits at 11-1. Florida 10-2, right? They're in 2nd place. This is your 1st and 2nd place in terms of the league. Like, you have obviously, like, when they're tied, like map differential and whatnot kind of goes into the mix, right? Where I know Atlanta has a better one by 9 maps, but you put yourself in a spot where, like, an upset or something happens, Atlanta, you start to win out, like you got a real shot, right? And Atlanta still has a game against the Boston Uprising, who's our 3rd place team. So that's not exactly a super clean, super clear cut who's going to win that one. So getting a 3-1 here would be massive for the Florida Mayhem. They come out with that Reinhardt.
Okay, the Reinhardt composition with the Echo and the May. Cat's out the bag here, so Atlanta Reign, time is ticking. Can you figure this composition out? It will be left on the Sojourn here, so it won't be Sombra Trace purely. We see Florida, not with the use of Symmetra like we've seen from London now, but they wrap around and they set up on Atlanta's side of the box.
Yeah, I think they tried to catch them a little bit off guard, wrapping all the way around, because teams would typically like just kind of stand there and do the whole Sojourn poke for damage. So, well, look at this. I mean, now this is really bizarre, right? Because they have control of the bot, and it's like running away from Atlanta. Where now Atlanta's like forced to wrap now, and Stalker actually ends up falling because he's trying to put pressure on the backside because he doesn't want the bot to just start running away. So they end up, maybe it was intentional, right? But maybe it just kind of happened by circumstance, like forcing them to split so heavily.
Well, normally the bot moves away from you into enemy territory, but for that moment it was moving into safe territory for the Florida Mayhem, which is just a bizarre way to flip this map on its head, and we don't see that often. Maybe one of the first few times we've seen that strat attempted. Florida now eventually revert back to their side of the map, though.
Also, they get a little bit of a lead, and now Florida, with this May, Reinhardt, Baptiste setup, says, okay, dive into us, right? Hey,
do the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and they can just kind of punish them, with some of these characters who can, like, if Donghak dives in that corner there, he's going to get just swung on by the Rhine. You're going to have the immortality field there, the May. I mean, he's going to be dead. Probably just building up to this Nano, trying to keep him a little bit healthier.
The Mayhem are in no hurry here to step any further forward. Rupal and Matrix going to go. Immortality field follows it soon after, but Choron still can't be kept in the fight, and this Nano boost on Donghak is a scary prospect. Charge doesn't connect from someone. Donghak going to be able to get away. And that's what really hurt the Mayhem earlier on in this series on Volta, letting Donghak escape.
Yeah, and you don't have the speed, right, to kind of, like, after maybe you keep some players alive, like, collapse. This is going to be an overclock here for Merit as they want to go. They don't want to give up.
Oh, he's always good for it. Oh, K-Lip, though, takes him out. Shuts the overclock down in midair with a charged rail of his own. Chio, though, has been felled on the side of the Atlanta Reign here, so that mobility somewhat compromised. The Mayhem's sound barrier, and the Atlanta Reign is still able to get away from them here. There's an Earth Shatter up for someone. Quickly tries to send it around the corner, catches Lip, but he's too far away.
Yeah, there's no shot you're going to be able to make it around the corner and fight for that, as they have to back up a little bit here. What do you do if you're the Atlanta Reign, right? I mean, you're going to be able to build up towards this Nano pretty quick if you just wait a second, but Donghak going to get back to the bot. So that's a Maywall plus a Blizzard that comes through.
It's a huge swing, though, that the sound barrier got forced out of Choron in the previous fight. Yeah, I mean, that was the opportunity, so far, right? You can get value from the blade because you just force the sound barrier out, so you just go for it, I get it. But still, it doesn't pay off for the Atlanta Reign. They nano stalker late after the blade is long since gone, and Oh my goodness, it's fumble after fumble here for the Atlanta Ray, but Chio doing Chio things. It's found two. Checkmate's in deep trouble. No ice blocker available. And that's your boy Chio. That's why he makes the big bucks.
It was crazy. It was like a 4K there from Chio. He's now gets back to the spawn and starts bringing everybody back up to where the bot is. I don't think you're going to be able to take the lead here. You're going to get very close. Yeah, someone gets onto the bot, gets the contest.
So a lot of ultimate cycled through in that previous fight. Very messy as well. Stalker's blade essentially shut down. I think he maybe gets one kill, but not much after that. Nano comes late. Sound barrier preemptively here for the Atlanta Rain, but Doghack couldn't benefit from it. He's on the high ground. A little bit dangerous here with the rest of the Rain pylon in to try and assist here. Rupal just keeping Merit alive there, allowing him to surge ahead, and now the Rain have to fold back. They don't get value out of their sound barrier.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, obviously for the Florida Mayhem, you have to use your amateur too. You don't really get anything for it, but you do keep everybody alive. I think that's the most important thing is, look at this. I mean, they are doing everything to keep Lip up. I mean, he is just getting beat down there.
The Mayhem still have a slim lead here, Matt. That's what's most important.
This Reinhardt, you know, the London Spitfire may have been on to something, because now you see the Florida Mayhem coming out in this Reinhardt setup. And having pretty good success against some of these dive compositions.
Now what's scary for the Atlanta Rain here is, yes, they have the high ground. So they drop down, they start a fight up. They have to be very careful about it. Because of this. Big Shadow and Chio smushed. Now, you've essentially lost that high ground position to play from. Can you stall the cart, maybe? No,
it seemed like it was gonna. It seemed like potentially that was like predictable there, as Donghak actually just focuses on getting the bot just away from his side of the map. But like they kind of had someone in this type of position here to the side, and they were going to speed boost him in around the corner. As soon as they saw Donghak just jump to the opposite side, they just turned and got whatever they could.
It was really nice from Donghak.
They have to nano stop and gets hit with a big shot early. Oh!
Flattened. Merit has made some magic happen on this very part of the map, Matthew. That overclock was very effective. They do lose Rupal though to Doghack. The bot's been moving this entire time though, so bear that in mind. It's very close to checkpoint, but it won't make it. Atlanta Rain, a huge part of the fact that they can hold off Florida here is because Doghack just gave the fight up to run the bot away.
Yeah, exactly. Those are some nutty shots from Merit though, gotta say, because he hits the first one, then they use the nano onto Stalker, so it's gonna take two more shots, and you know, back to back. Just connects all, you know, 3 shots straight away with that overclock into Stalker, which, I mean, that is difficult to do, connecting onto the Genji with everything else going on.
Blade here for Stalker, going straight for it. Immortality field from Rupal picked off by Lip. This is going to pave the way for Stalker to get the job done, and they were a little early for a sound barrier from Chorong here. Now we're going to have an extended stagger / cleanup phase as someone tried to shepherd the bot back the other way.
Doing the dong hack there for a second. The bot will now start to push it, you know, pretty far. I feel like though the next area that you're going to be fighting here definitely benefits the Reinhardt, right? Like some of these close quarter scenarios is Merit actually goes over to Sombra, so really interesting. And I kind of have this Sombra with the May in the mix. Oh, that is dangerous from someone.
Well, he's not a coward, Matt. To fly move. Not a coward. Again, I mean, sort of trying to save this
straight into an overclock.
Yeah. I guess he knew he was getting sort of topped up a lot of that time, and I don't think he was in great danger there. He does pull off. But hey, the result is great for Florida. They get through the overclock, they don't use their sound barrier, and they're back to neutral in terms of bot position. 2 minutes 53.
Yeah, now you can kind of play this, you know, neutral position. There's, you know, Donghak gets benefits to the nano, but that's a Maywall that kind of splits some players off.
Looks like he was trying to chase, I'm not even sure who, Chorong perhaps, with that nano? So the Mayhem don't use any ultimates at all here. They actually just let this one go through, knowing that the next fight, that's the important one.
Yeah, but, you know, you have sound barrier here for the Atlanta Rain, right? You know, for this next fight, so even like, you know, Shatter comes down, I think you're really, you know, relying on can Merit build up an EMP here, you know, quickly. So look at this, Atlanta decides to use their sound barrier and engage first.
Chio got the barrier off and then got shattered straight away. Someone's able to follow up on that one with a charge. Donghak causing problems though here. Rupal picked off by Fielder in midair as Donghak juggles him up. That's an important kill from someone. Really crucial here for the Mayhem to try to avert a checkpoint from the Atlanta Rain. He's healthy too. Chorong's keeping him standing and Donghak's going to get flattened. Someone is in trouble though. A little too far away from his team here, but buys enough time for that bot to start swinging back. The Mayhem still have the lead here, under 2 minutes left.
Yeah, it feels like you kind of accomplished what you needed to do if you're the Florida Mayhem. Just push the bot back a little bit. Someone now going to go over to the Winston here, and Merit is built up towards this EMP. If you're the Atlanta Reign, you have to kind of have an idea that he has the EMP, right? You don't want to just like barrel your way into this EMP. You kind of have to back up maybe a little bit.
You're definitely going to use it reactively though, right? Unless someone's going to dive on this Ana? Oh, a Lip could probably get away, even if they get EMP'd. Trying to keep eyes on Stalker here. Again, no hack, so I don't know if Merit's tracked the blade. He'll know now though. He'll see that indicator, but instantly, it just drills one into Merit. They are able to find Stalker, but the EMP at best gives them a trade. That's not enough for Florida. They're going to have to extend further.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like enough because this is the overclock that's going to come in from Lip. He's just trying to find any type of damage, maybe some value out of it. But I was going to say you have this Nano plus the blade coming up. I mean, this could be huge here for Atlanta.
Lip. 42 seconds left in the round here. No, Tio's down.
Tio.
That's bad. There's going to be an out of boost up here for the Florida Mayhem here. That could be good for someone. Bio doesn't quite connect on Donghak, but he just used the jump. Can he get away? No! It's all falling down. Lip able to stand up, though, and at least get rid of checkmate. And RuPaul holds onto the Nano. Now, lets it go. Looking for Lip. He's able to slide away, at least for the time being. Got a Nano himself here, but that's not going to be for the Genji. Lip finds the kill, but he's put to sleep.
Yeah, they have to Nano Lip to keep him up, but now you're not going to have this for the Genji coming up, like you mentioned, where that is a huge fight there for Florida because where the bot was, right, if you win that for the Atlanta Reign, like you're in a situation now where you're fighting in a spot where you can easily win the round.
We're down to the wire here, Matt. This is it. Final fight, overtime. The Atlanta Reign poised to potentially equal and exceed the Mayhem's total. Stalker's blade may be the focal point for this next fight. He goes for it straight away, but they've already lost Lip. The primal race from someone yields the kill, and Choron is up to stay away from Stalker for long enough. He's 2 HP, another swing and he's down. Blizzard now going to be deployed, and Donghak is felled, and the Florida Mayhem have done it. And someone knows it. Elation on the faces of this Florida Mayhem team as they are the second to serve the fattest L to the Atlanta Reign. And the Florida Mayhem now go even on win-loss record with this Reign squad.
I was going to say, I mean, that is the biggest thing. You see someone dancing there, look like RuPaul getting in on the someone dance as well. But Florida now with this victory moving to 11-2 as well, where we'll have to see where the map differential kind of shakes out. Coming into it, it was plus 29 for the Reign. The Florida Mayhem were at plus 20. So we'll have to see how that kind of shakes out because that could be massive, especially with the Atlanta Reign. Having a big match coming up with the Boston Uprising. I mean, that is huge here now as we look towards that match because we thought Atlanta would just kind of run through everybody, but a loss to Houston, a loss to Florida, right? You play Boston, right? The other team in the top 4, like a loss there. You're looking at now the Florida Mayhem potentially as like the #1 team here.
I mean, and there's questions here for the Atlanta Reign. Did they peak too early? They haven't been able to keep that lead. They haven't been able to stay so far ahead, keep that gap between them and the rest of these teams of the West. And all of a sudden, the Overwatch League just got a lot more interesting, especially in this region. Let's talk player of the match here. What a showing from the Florida Mayhem. Your player of the match is going to be Checkmate. There's a lot of echo from Checkmate at times, right? The Tracer, though, really, really solid. Some great play all around from this team. It all started from Antarctic Peninsula, right? Well, we did see them sort of play the dive mirror, and then Dorado was something pretty special here. My goodness, the Widow from Merit, the Checkmate Echo, it was sublime.
I mean, just being able to see like how many different heroes he can play, right, at an extremely high level. I think like him and Merit make a tremendous, DPS combo where we saw the May significant amount today with the Reinhardt play. We saw the Echo, we saw Tracer, we saw a lot of different things here. From Checkmate, but just taking a look at some of these May stats, I mean 10 final blows, right? I mean that's a pretty strong per 10 minutes, right? Getting significant value out of the Blizzard, so really nice job here from Checkmate today.
All of a sudden, we go from one team squarely in the top of the heap here in the Western region to potentially 4 different teams vying for that top spot. Because, like you mentioned, the Boston Uprising await the Atlanta Reign, and they're a completely different team than this Florida Mayhem. Preparing for Boston and for Florida, 2 very different things entirely, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see such like a split between the top 4 and everybody else, right? Like the Outlaws sitting 4th at the moment, right? Like 9-3. 5th is at 5-5, right? No, that's like a, the huge gap. But now it seems like, at least at the top, this thing is wide open, right? It seems like everybody kind of able to beat everybody at a moment's notice. Really kind of seeing how this all kind of shakes out with the meta. I think it's really interesting that Florida decided to bring in some Reinhardt play today. We've seen how effective it is for the London Spitfire. Now you actually see one of the teams in the top 4 make like an adaptation off of that and use it to beat the Atlanta Reign. So really interesting stuff, I feel like, coming in the next few weeks.
More than just a gimmick, perhaps, this Reinhardt composition. We are returning to where we started at the beginning of this season. Much to talk about today, including this matchup, which is quite exciting. Ultimately, a 3-1 for the Florida Mayhem. We'll be right back. We're going to check in with our experts and unpack the day that has been.
막턴이야. 한 번씩 컴백 알게 줘.
오케이 가.
포인. 견뎌. 몽키블 돼. 플래시.
I missed the dance.
That was a legendary
pop
pop-off,
or what?
man. These guys are out of control.
So happy.
I mean, rightfully so.
Yeah, it's a
Rightfully
huge win.
so. Not only are they the second team to take down the giant that is or was the Atlanta Reign, but also they are now even in score in the rankings. So that's huge.
It looked weird on the graphic when both teams were 11-2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's
I told
wrong.
you,
Something's off.
Jonathan,
Atlanta's not.
Yeah,
the
what?
spirits.
That's true. You should have listened
You
to the
didn't
spirits.
listen to the spirits.
Why did you listen to the spirits?
I will
Why
say
did you
Atlanta
listen to this?
still rank 1. Still rank 1.
Always rank
Their
1
map
in
dip is
my
out
heart.
of control.
Oh, really? Oh,
they have
yeah.
like a freaky map dip. So if they can stop the bleeding here, they can hold on to that top spot. But
Copium, it's over, bro. It's over. Atlanta Reign, they're done. It's over.
Panicking right now. Stop panicking.
Everyone calm down. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna feel weird for those guys after being so used to winning and not even breaking a sweat. Now this is the 3rd team in a row, which, makes them bleed. And we want to talk about how they got it done. Jonathan, Reinforce, Snowden, you have a illustration for us.
Oh, I do indeed.
Yeah. Well,
Judgment case.
have at it. What you got?
I mean, look, we gotta talk about that Dorado. That Dorado hole, this was one of the sickest team fights of the year, honestly. So, let's take a look at this 1 minute of gameplay that made the difference between the Florida Mayhem and the Atlanta Reign in this one. So we can just ease into this one a little bit here, play it out just a little bit, and we can see that Merit is obviously holding on the high ground, and he's checking here for Lip. And we're gonna pause just slightly here as well. We can go move forward just a little bit, just inch it forward till we get Checkmate into the frame here as well, the Echo player. So right here, you can see that they're actually looking out for Stalker on the Echo here as well. So not only did we see that Merit, he's holding the Tracer, but they're also holding Stalker here on the Echo. And as we inch forward here just a little bit, I want to highlight Checkmate's positioning on the Echo here as well. So we'll see that Checkmate, he's right in front. Look, Checkmate is looking over here. And we'll also see how Checkmate is sort of playing this protective playstyle. Because look, again, we know that Atlanta Reign, they're playing the Echo, they're playing the Monkey, they're playing the dive composition. So Florida Mayhem, they're playing the Widowmaker. We can play this one out. Florida Mayhem, they know the dive is coming. And how do we navigate around this dive coming in? Avoid the bombs coming in from Echo, keeping an eye on the Tracer. Here's the Winston. Bam, there it is. Now, we can go ahead and pause as we go back just a little bit here. Obviously, we're going into the house now. And the reason we're going into the house, hide from the dive, guys. We're hiding from the dive. This is so pre-planned. You can see the immediate reaction from the Florida Mayhem. We're going to grapple and get into this house and get away from the Nano Winston that Dongak currently has. So we can go ahead and play this out. Florida Mayhem, they do a great job of just mitigating the dive coming through. Chorong hits a clutch whip shot here as well, just pushing the dive off. And now, this is the crucial moment in the fight for the Florida Mayhem in how they turn this around. They're 4 versus 5. We can keep playing this forward just a few frames right here. And we'll see Dongak actually. Oh, we can go back a little bit. Go back. Yep, there you go. What is this? This is a Winston. It looks really weird when you're just looking through the wall. This is a Winston. But Merit actually saw Donghak do this leap before he went over this wall. So we can play it out. That means no Winston leap, I can grapple upstairs, and the only person who can contest me is Stalker. This sets up a huge clutch play where Merit kills not only Chio, but also Fielder. And suddenly, the backline is down for the Atlanta Reign. And this becomes the huge turning point for the Florida Mayhem. Now, suddenly, with no support, it's suddenly all about someone on the Winston and RuPaul's Nano Boost to really stave this fight up. You can see as well someone 87% on the ultimate charge. And so really with no supports, as we play this one out, no supports for Atlanta Reign, that means that suddenly Florida Mayhem, they can turn this fight around because they have healers, because they have the health to sustain this fight. Nano Boost just holding off with the Winston shields here as well, just trying to buy time. Buying time for the defense to come back. Buying time for the rest of the team. Primal Rage gets popped. And Atlanta Reign, they just can't survive without their healers. So an incredible fight here from the Florida Mayhem. Huge clutch shot from Merit on the Widowmaker to get 2 picks. And they just turn it around and they full hold Dorado. That was the huge turning point in the series for me.
I mean, it was incredibly well played. The Mayhem, they showed us so many great plays, so much cohesion, and once again, a lot of versatility in their compositional approaches as well. Was that kind of what broke the neck of the Phoenix here?
I think so. I mean, this has been Florida's strength all season long, and they've continued to refine on it and refine on it. And I think they're definitely a lot more subtle than some of these other teams. Like, you know, London has their unique look with this Ryan Sim comp that's just like completely out of left field. But I think Florida's adjustments were a little more detailed, right? They bring out the Widowmaker on Dorado. It's a great pick for Dorado. And then supporting it with an Echo and just playing a very spammy play style, just holding off the dive, making space for Merit. That's the mindset, that's the game plan. And it works wonders because the overall comp, you still have Anna Brig Winston, right? You still have these fundamental heroes that are really strong in the meta, and they're still utilizing them to their full potential because the players can actually handle those heroes and play at the highest level. So I think Florida, they're kind of the best of both worlds right now. They can play some of these strategies, the rush, coming a little bit more into the meta, very comfortably, but they're still rock solid on the dive, and they can take Atlanta in either a mirror or close to a mirror.
Yeah, and as you showed in that very illustration as well, a lot of preset plays, lots of planning going into it, and they played it so clean today. Very little mistakes, which Atlanta Reign could have punished them for. And now we are ready for a winner's interview with Danny and Checkmate.
Checkmate!
Whoa!
Wow!
I'm excited, Danny.
최민 선수 들리시나요? 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
All right, Checkmate says hi. So I do, of course, before I start, congratulations on beating the Atlanta Reign. You guys did a fantastic job. So I honestly feel like you guys were using a lot of different and innovative compositions today. What was the game plan coming in against the Atlanta Reign? 자, 오늘 일단 승리를 축하드리면서 굉장히 다양한 조합을 선보이고 또 그걸 보면서 오늘 좀 어떻게 보면 플로리다 굉장히 준비를 잘 해왔다라는 생각이 좀 많이 들었습니다. 제가 봤을 때는 어떻게 체크메이트 선수가 보실 때 오늘 경기 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
저희가 사실 에틀이 1등에 있는 거 보면서 배가 좀 많이 아팠거든요. 원래 저기가 저희 자리인데 하고. 근데 저희가 정규 시즌에 에틀이랑 매치할 기회가 없어가지고 많이 아쉬웠었는데 이번에 매치가 잡혀가지고 저희가 진짜 에틀 이기면은 우리가 1등 한다는 생각으로 엄청 많이 준비했던 것 같아요. 조합적이라던가 아니면 에틀 스타일이라던가.
I mean, we did definitely prepare a lot for this match, mainly because we really wanted to beat the Atlanta Reign. Seeing them just on the #1 spot really made our whole team feel really jealous because we knew that spot was for the Florida Mayhem. So we definitely prepared a lot, not only in compositions, but we really studied on how the Atlanta Reign plays the game, and I think that's how we ultimately got the win against the Atlanta Reign. I do also want to talk about our final map, which was Coliseum. At the very end, it was you playing the May, and also I think it was someone switched over to Winston. How were you guys able to make that work? Because it's not sort of a composition that we see a lot. 자, 그리고 다음 질문으로 이제 콜로세오 마지막 맵이었어. 마지막 맵에서 이제 체크메이트 선수가 메이 그리고 또 썸먼 선수가 라인이나 또 딴 영어로 쓰다가 이제 윈스턴으로 들어와서 그 조합으로 이제 싸움을 이기게 돼서 끝에 경기를 승리를 하게 되셨는데 그 조합을 좀 어떻게 해서 쓰게 되셨고 좀 어떻게 해서 그걸로 승리까지 이끌어 나가실 수 있었나요?
저희가 원래 손브라 트레이서 하기로 했는데 상대가 블레이드 있기도 하고 시간 보니까 막턴이라서 그냥 제 분리자드 채워가지고 거점에 쓰면은 용검도 카운터 치면서 상대 못 밟겠다 해가지고 그냥 메이로 가가지고 했던 것 같아요.
I mean, because we at first we wanted to switch to the Sombra Tracer dive, but then it was by the time that we realized that we were going into the fight, it was the last fight, and because I knew that I had the Blizzard and they had a Genji, if I held on to the Blizzard and used it on point, the Genji really couldn't do anything. So I stuck with the Mei while my other teammates were sort of switching, and that's how the team fight went on and ultimately won the fight. I mean, you guys were fantastic. It was such a joy to watch you guys, and again, big congratulations on getting the win. 자, 다시 한번 승리 축하드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.
No, thank you, Checkmate. And thank you, Danny, of course, for once more getting us the inside scoop. Mayhem beating the Atlanta Reign. Definitely another big highlight to kick things off here this week. But we had a few more highlights to choose from, so it is time to take a look at our best of the days. But before that, we also want to take a look once more at our scores, just to see again what we actually got to witness all of today. And there we have it.
There you
Here
go.
it is with the scores. London actually taking down the Gladiators. Boston Uprising and LA Valiant, they did not end up surprising us.